egg that we posted this week. Look at how big that one is. Initially, I thought it was a double yolker. Chris thinks it's a triple yolker.
I think there's a chance it's a triple.
Double yolker.
Double yolker.
We're here this morning, and as you saw from last week there, we now have our bacon that we've done a dry brine on, and a dry cure, sorry, as well as an attempt to smoke it, which didn't work, but it still turned out okay. So you can see that's got a nice cross section in there still. So we are excited to have some bacon and eggs for breakfast. So we got our old meat slicer here that we've had down in the basement that we hardly ever use, but we brought that up, and we're gonna slice some bacon. Getting a little long, but we're getting some nice, not full-length pieces, but some nice little pieces of bacon out of there. So we got more than we thought actually out of that one piece. So once you slice it up, we've got 2 full plates of bacon. So this is going to be a nice, yummy, delicious, hot breakfast. Fresh eggs came out of the coop this morning as well, so nom nom nom. Quiet on the set, please. So we had this great idea for our chicken run. We kind of fenced in a little bit of the area just so we can keep the birds in when we want to, and we'll still let them out and forage. But there's still sometimes we just want to keep them all kind of in a certain area. So we've kind of just done a light fence around all of this. And we had this great idea for the door that we thought they'd be scared to come in and out of, which worked for the first 4 hours, and then they just didn't care anymore. So we're gonna have to figure something else out to put a door in there so we can get in and out through the fencing, but they just started going straight through it. So one of the things we live and learn. It's not that exciting, but things you can see that we're trying and learning as we kind of go along the way. We thought you may be interested in. So on to the next thing. Today, another kind of sad reality of things, and not the first time we've dealt with it now that we're 4 months in, but we've got our new broiler chickens that we've got up another small coop on the deck into the big coop now with the rest of the birds. And we had one guy that was a little bit smaller than the rest, but he was eating and drinking, so we thought maybe he'd make it, but unfortunately he didn't. So we found him this morning, so we're gonna go get him out and bury him. Of course, sounds selfish, but of course he chose the most difficult part of the coop to pass away in last night. So, oh, it's not the little one, eh?
It isn't?
No.
Oh.
The little one's still there. This is the little guy, and I think he may have a bit of a broken leg, and not sure how he's doing, but you can see how much smaller. Come here, come here. Smaller he is compared to that one. So that was the one I wasn't going to worry about. Why this guy died, I have no idea.
There's no like blood on him or.
Nope. Weird. Sorry guys, don't look, don't look.
Cool. Surprisingly, this gate was Chris's idea, not mine.
Yeah. What were you filming? We were walking.
Our babies. I thought you said you needed to dig a hole.
No, I said we've already dug the hole.
Oh. Oops.
Oops.
Well,
It's in the ground now.
Babies in the ground.
Won't. Don't you guys go digging. Get out of here. So I guess that's one of the kind of sad things of dealing with this, is you kind of go through that process of death, whether it's for food or things just dying naturally. But yeah, I'm not really sure why that one died, to be honest. So I'm kind of curious about that. Seemed healthy. They all seemed good other than that little one. So that's bizarre. I for sure thought it was that little one when you said there was one in there.
Rest in peace, baby.
So over the winter, we're working on a bunch of little kind of projects around the house. And one thing that's been on our list for, God, 3 years now, I think, has been doing a drainage ditch. Because we get the water runoff that comes right down and goes under the house and into the garden and gets it really soppy. So we've started a little drainage ditch here that we're going to fill with some stones and make it pretty. Yeah, this part of the lawn's already way drier. It's working well already. So the amount of water that's actually flowing down here rather than going across towards the house. So once we finish digging that all out, we should have some nice drainage down to the beach and the water instead of going under the foundation of the house. So our drainage ditch is going to come right down through here and kind of come through. This is actually a really nice area in the summer. It's all daisies that come up and the whole thing is daisies. So our drainage ditch will come right down through here. And then we've just put in a little garden bed where we planted some daffodils all along the front here as well. So this will be a nice little flower section. One of the things we're going to try to do this winter is introduce a lot more flowers around the property because we are planning on getting bees in the spring. So that I'm really excited for. I've never had bees before. Another thing on our list to learn about and try out here as we live off the land. So we got to make sure there's lots of flowers from in the area. So they'll travel for miles to go for flowers, but it's kind of nice to have a bunch close by. And that will hopefully also help us out next summer with pollinating our squashes and cucumbers and things like that that didn't do so well this year because we didn't have any bees around. So we want to keep them around here and keep them happy. So 2 weeks ago we showed you our mushroom bucket that we tried with coffee grounds. So we haven't got any pins coming yet, but it's kind of on track and we're going to leave it outside now. So it's been sitting in a cool dark place and you can kind of see the total top there. There. That was the coffee grounds on top, and that mycelium's just totally overgrown it now, so I'll get a little bit of that moisture out of there, sorry. But it's nice and moist in there, and that's kind of what you want to show that it's working. So hopefully within a week or two we'll start to get some pins, and this will be a whole nother bucket of oyster mushrooms that we bought no more spawn for. We're just kind of recycling it and keeping it going over and over again for as long as we can. So yeah, that's one of the other cool things too, actually, we should mention. Just to kind of reuse and recycle as much as we can. We get the coffee grinds from our local bakery, Vanilla Leaf, which is great and gives us coffee grinds that we recycle and use for growing mushrooms, as well as get their scraps to feed the pigs from our grocery store as well. So there's kind of lots of that continuation of thing and using as much as we can without buying stuff and using packaging and all that as well. Thanks. Hello, chickie. Anyone who has chickens knows it takes twice as long to do anything because they always get interrupted and get curious, don't you? Huh? Things we've been playing around a lot within our journey so far is mushrooms, which is something I'm far from an expert, but something we definitely want to learn more and more about as we're going. So we're trying a bunch of different techniques. So we've tried a couple of things. Obviously it's not good to buy things, and we're trying not to do that, but just kind of get started in some spawns. We've got a couple different sawdust bags here. So these are little shiitake mushrooms that we're growing, as well as one I really like. Steph thinks it's gross with the kind of fuzzy things on top, but this is called lion's mane, which is a type of mushroom. So we're growing both these in sawdust bags that we've purchased, and then what we're going to try and do, like we did with the oyster mushrooms in the coffee grinds, is continue to keep these ones going, and whether we're inoculating logs or putting them in sawdust or putting them in coffee to try and keep these going, so we're not purchasing more plastic and things like that and keeping them going on ourselves just so they keep growing on our property. And one of the things we're going to try today is inoculating some logs with shiitake plugs. Plugs basically are just like the little wooden dowels that you get in IKEA that have been soaked in the sort of spawn and growing mycelium on there. And then if you put them in hardwood, then hopefully after kind of a year, hopefully in the spring for us, we'll start to get some shiitake mushrooms that are growing off these logs. So we don't bore you, we've already saved some time. I've drilled some holes in these logs, and all we're going to do is put these plugs in and then seal them up with a little bit of wax. So you just put the plug into the log, and we've got them kind of all over, so we'll do a bunch in there. And then hopefully it will just kind of overtake the whole log. And then it's got a little bit of this wax. Get away from our food. That we're just going to seal over top there so nothing gets into those holes. And kind of leave those out all winter. And then in the spring, hopefully we'll have a bunch of shiitakes. It'll look like those guys with the brown caps that will just naturally be growing out of those logs. And the bigger logs could produce them for a number of years, as long as they sort of have enough nutrients in from that as well. So we'll fill those up, and again, one of those weird things that we're not going to know for so long if it works or not, because it won't be at least until the spring, but we'll see if that works. So we got our all our plugs done in our logs. So we've got our shiitake mushrooms here, which we did in a paper birch, and then we just tried a different one as well. I'm always curious just to see what works. We had some extras, so why not? So again, these will kind of just sit here until the spring, and then hopefully start sprouting some shiitakes. And then we also did some oyster mushrooms, some blue oysters, and we did those in alder because they like split alder trees. We had some that we had chopped up, so you can see we just kind of put the plugs in there. And covered them in wax. And so again, hopefully we'll start to get some of those in the spring. They'll get nice and damp. They're in a kind of shaded area here where they're not going to get a lot of sun, which is what you want. And then the part I'm most excited for is we've got this kind of old, cool looking tree that was fell down, and then we cut it a couple years ago. But we've hollowed it out, and now we're going to fill that with the coffee grinds that we get from the bakery. And we have a bunch of oyster plugs left over and some spawn downstairs as well. So we're going to fill this up with coffee grinds, because I'd much rather do it in natural things in a bucket. So we'll do that and see how that does. But hopefully that's growing cool mushrooms out of a tree like it should be, rather than out of a bucket. So we got our coffee grinds. This is how we get them from the bakery. So we're just going to start dumping some of those in, and we'll have to kind of pull some of the filters out that we still recycle and compost those anyways. And then let's take some of our plugs that we got with the spawn on them and kind of layer those around in there. Again, we're experimenting. We're not experts. I have no idea how well this will work or if it'll work. But theoretically, I know they do grow in coffee, so nice shady area like this, I don't know why it wouldn't. And then we'll have cool mushrooms that are naturally growing out of a nice mossy tree. Alright, so we got all of our spawn in there, blue oyster mushrooms, so I'm excited for those. We'll see, not until the spring unfortunately. But again, we just kind of want to get away from the buckets and get back to more using natural materials and have them kind of grow in our property in a natural environment. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. Alright, we finally got the boat fired up. We got all the parts we need. The engine just started. We tested it out. So we're excited to go put this back in the water. Come on, baby. Give it to me. Okay, one more. Just started. The engine's still warm, it'll be fun. Might be over there for one of those beers soon. Not enough juice in the battery now. Have a good evening. So I swear enough on the episodes, I shouldn't do it anymore. We just started in the driveway half an hour ago. Now it's not. The engine was so warm. Boat's back in the driveway where it's been for the last couple months. Still more work to do on it to get it to where it needs to be. So not the way we wanted to end the week, but we'll keep on going.